Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 94b. Ema Seifa. Rabbi Yossi Omer Yavoir. Say the latter clause of the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi says it is insufficient to merely reduce the quantity of seeds of a different kind. Rather, one must pick out all the seeds of a different kind. I amret bishlam ki yoister beroiva mitinoifes domi bihakamifligi. Tanakama savar lo kansina netera atu isura. Rabbi Yossi savar kansinan. Vela. I amart kerovadami amayavo. The Gemara explains the difficulty. Granted, if you say that a quarter kav of seeds of a different kind per sa with regard to diverse kinds is comparable to more than a quarter kav of impurities per sa with regard to a sale, then it is about this that they disagree. The first Tana holds that we do not penalize one for requiring him to remove that which is permitted due to that which is prohibited, and consequently it is sufficient to merely reduce the quantity of seeds of a different kind to an acceptable level, whereas Rabbi Yossi holds that we do penalize one by requiring him to remove that which is permitted due to that which is prohibited. But if you say that a quarter kav of seeds of a different kind per sa with regard to diverse kinds is comparable to a quarter kav of impurities per sa with regard to a sale, then why does Rabbi Yossi rule that one must pick out all the seeds of a different kind? The Gemara answers there with regard to different kinds. This is the reasoning of Rabbi Yossi. One must pick out all the seeds because once he is purifying the admixture of seeds, he deliberately leaves a quantity of seeds of a different kind mixed in it. It appears as though he is intentionally planting and maintaining diverse kinds in his field. Toshimaha. The Gemara suggests coming here another challenge to Rav Huna's ruling from a Mishnah in Bava, 37a. 37 is Hain, spelled Haine. Toshima Shnayim Shivki Duvetzil Echod. Ze mana v'ze 200, ze oimer 200 sheli, v'ze oimer 200 sheli. Noisin leze mana v'ze mana v'shal yehe munach ad shiach v'yoliyahu. The Gemara suggests coming here another challenge of Huna's ruling from the Mishnah in Bava 37a. I remember that. Yeah. In the case of two people who deposited money with one person, and this one deposited 100 dinars and this one deposited 200 dinars, when they return to collect the deposits, this one says my deposit was 200 and that one says my deposit was 200. The Bailey gives 100 dinars to this one and 100 dinars to that one, and the rest of the money, meaning the contested $100, will be placed in a safe place until Elijah comes and prophetically determines the truth. In this case, one of the parties is certainly lying, but nevertheless, the sages did not penalize the parties by placing all of the money in a safe place. Similarly, in the case of a sale where the seller deceitfully mixed additional impurities into the produce he sold, he should not be penalized and required to take back all of the impurities. Hachi hashta. The Gemara rejects this challenge. Hasam vade mane lemar manai lemar hacha miyem medalav kulei rove oriv. The Gemara rejects this challenge. How can these cases be compared? There, in the case of the deposits, it is certain that at least 100 dinars belongs to this master and 100 dinars belongs to that master. Why are they called masters? Maybe it's Mr. It's Mr. Hey, Buster. Hey, Mister. Here, in the case of a sale where there is an unacceptable portion of impurities mixed in, who can say that the seller did not mix in the entire amount intentionally? Accordingly, no proof can be drawn from the Mishnah. The Gemara suggests coming here to support a support for Rav Huna's ruling from the latter clause of the Mishnah. I mean, Rav Yossi says, why should the Ramai win? But why doesn't someone else say, why should the honest guy lose? You know, we're only concerned about the Ramai winning. It's a little bit more fair, I think. True, the honest guy lost out $100. At least he got something. Okay, it's a question. If so, what did this one lose? He has lost nothing by claiming the $100 belongs to another, and he has no incentive to admit to the truth. Rather, the entire deposit will be placed in a safe box until Elijah comes. Since through his lie, the swindler risks losing even the $100 that he deposited, perhaps that will induce him to admit his deceit. According to this, bottom line, this thing never happened. This thing never happened. It's just all thoughts, basically. According to Rav Yossi, the sages did penalize one who acts deceitfully, which accords with Rav Huna's ruling. The Gemara rejects the proof. How can these cases be compared? There, in the case of the deposits, there is certainly a swindler, and it is reasonable to penalize both parties in order to induce the swindler to admit his deceit. Here, in the case of a sale, where there is an acceptable level of impurities mixed in with the produce, who can say that the seller intentionally mixed in anything? Perhaps the impurities were inadvertently mixed in during the processing. Accordingly, no proof can be drawn from the Mishnah. The Gemara suggests, coming here, another support for Rav Huna's ruling from a Batra in the case of a promissory note in which the details of a loan with interest were written. The court penalizes the creditor, and he may collect neither the principal nor the interest. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. According to Rabbi Meir, the sages did penalize one who acts improperly, which accords with Rav Huna's ruling. Hachihashta. How now? Or here now. Hachihashta. Hasam Mishas Ksiva hu Diavalish Suma Hachamim Ardenu. The Gemara rejects the proof. How can these cases be compared? There, in the case of a loan with interest, it is already at the time of the writing of the bill, the lender performed the transgression of placing interest upon the borrower. Since he certainly committed a transgression, it is reasonable that the sages penalized him. But here, in the case of a sale where there is an unacceptable portion of impurities mixed with the produce, who can say the seller intentionally mixed in anything? Perhaps the impurities were inadvertently mixed in during the processing. Accordingly, no proof can be drawn from the Batra. The Gemara suggests, coming here, challenge Rav Huna's ruling from the latter clause of the Bava. But the rabbis say he may collect the principal, but may not collect the interest. According to Rabbi Meir, the sages did not penalize one who acts improperly, contrary to Rav Huna's ruling. The Gemara rejects this challenge. How can these cases be compared? There, in the case of a loan with an interest, according to strict halacha, it is certainly permitted to collect the principal, so the sages did not penalize him with regard to it. But here, in the case of a sale, where there is an acceptable proportion of impurities mixed in, who can say that the seller did not mix the entire amount intentionally? Accordingly, no proof can be drawn from the Mishnah. Toshima Nachman lo et hamotar bilvad hu machzir, ela machzir lo et kol haravayin kulan al ma hecha dibai ahadore kula mehader. Come in here, further support for Rav Huna's ruling from that which Ravin bar Rav Nachman teaches, 104b. Ravin bar Rav Nachman's statement is with regard to a situation when land that was sold is later found to be larger than stated in the time of the sale, if the deviation is not more than an area required to sow a quarter seed per beit se'ah of land, then the buyer need not return any land to the seller. If the portion of extra land is larger than this, not only must the buyer return the extra land that is beyond the limit of the quarter kav area per beit se'ah, but he must also return to him every one of the extra quarter kav areas of land that he received beyond the stated area of the beit kor. The Gemara infers apparently, when one is required to return part of his sale because of a discrepancy that is beyond the acceptable limit of deviation, then one is required to return the entire discrepancy and not just the amount that is beyond the acceptable limit. This supports Rav Huna's ruling. Hachi hashta, the Gemara rejects this. How can these cases become paired?